So, I got accused of cheating in chess. We're going to talk about that game and the messages the person sent me during the game. It's kind of a funny game. We're going to look at the Albin counter gambit, which I've been studying, and a blitz game I got. Usually blitz I just play for fun or to test out different openings or strategies. So that blitz game was really cool. I played with 100% accuracy there. And we're going to look at a game where my opponent abandoned the game and 2 games where I just lose. So that's what happened on day 73, which is today, of my journey to 2000. Let's get straight into it. First of all, the game where the guy accused me of cheating. I didn't even play well. But let's go over what he says exactly. Or she. He says, "How often do you choose to cheat?" And I'm like, "I don't cheat, lol." Right? So he says, "Not the whole time, right?" I'm like, "Sorry if you're having a rough time, buddy." That was kind of rude, but I mean, it's funny. "How do you explain the huge increase in ELO?" First of all, I don't know what he means by this. I guess because my ELO went up by like 400 the past year, but I've been like studying and playing a lot of chess, so. So I say, "Studying chess, what?" He's like, "Really? What did you study?" So I respond, "Chess." By the way, I took all these screenshots during the game. I was like, I need to catch this. This is so funny. He's like, "What specifically?" "Puzzles." I started using chess books. And I said, "Look up Yusupov," because that's the book I've started to read. It's really good stuff. I also try to analyze my games a lot. Playing lots of games helps too. Also made a rule for myself. If I lose 2 in a row, I take a break. Right? So he says, "Can we play more?" And honestly, I was just going to take a break after this game. So I was like, probably going to take a break after this, but you can add me as a friend if you want. And he said, "Never mind." So it's kind of funny to me. And this is the game in question. It's funny how he has a fair play emblem, but I'm gonna block out the username because, I don't want any hate towards this individual. Not that I have a billion people watching, but, Anyway. Oh, yeah, the funniest thing, again, I played with 64.7% hack. This is not a good game by any means, We go into the King's Gambit, and this is before I looked at lines countering the King's Gambit. So actually, today, I looked at the Falkbeer counter gambit for the King's Gambit. And the way it goes is you play like this. And if he takes here, it's already losing because the queen could come in and pick up a rook. Something like this. So the king would be forced to move, and that's it. You lose castling rights. And you could still take the pawn with check, right? So white would be forced to take like this. And I just learned this, so I haven't played a game with it yet. And there's many different ways you could react. But I think taking is the main line. You could push, which isn't the best, but is also a strategy. Typically, you don't want to take because you're going to give your opponent a tempo. You're going to give him an extra turn to develop a piece while you have to like bring your queen back, basically, right? So that's the Falkbeer counter gambit, and I'll have the video in the description from which I learned it. But anyway, I didn't know it at this time, and so I just take... And I understand that pushing the pawn here is the main line in the King's Gambit. I forget that you have to push right away here because I get scared of the knight coming in with this knight and bishop attack. Not realizing that the knight can't come in because my queen is attacking it, right? Or maybe I did, but I just thought it was too annoying of a threat. I thought maybe, he'll take, I'll take, and then he'll get into the position. But he can't. He can't get into the position. The queen covers that square. So anyway, already on move like 3, whatever, I make a mistake. I lose a pawn. But then I see this nice move, Okay, like, the knight protects, the queen protects. I feel like it's the only move I have, and it was, right? It was a great move. He goes back, and then I move my knight forward, which I don't know exactly why I did. I think I wanted to have an open line against the knight. He sacks his knight, which to me makes 0 sense because he doesn't have an attack towards my king right now. But I guess he just wants to have a quick attack. So I take with my king, not recognizing that I could check first. And if he blocks, I can take. And yeah, his knight could get away. He could even take if he wants, right? But I have like this beautiful move. And then like checkmate is coming soon. Very interesting stuff, right? Very interesting. Like look at that. And then there's a checkmate here. Like this. The pawn covers here. Actually, I didn't look at this. I didn't know this was a checkmate threat. Look, you checkmate with a pawn. Jesus Christ, that's crazy. The bishop covers the escape square. Anyway, I didn't see that. I didn't see that idea. I was more scared of his threat, so I just take back, recognizing that he can't check me right away, and I have an option. I have some options. Castling is a little annoying, but I check, he attacks, and I come in with this checkmate threat. And right away, I noticed I just made huge mistakes. I move my king out of the way. I bring my queen closer because I literally don't see what I could do. And I'm just playing stupidly, a little bit on tilt, right? So I'm clearly losing. And for some reason, my opponent doesn't take my queen. I don't understand the logic behind this. Like, okay, he spent 6 seconds on the move. He essentially spent a minute in the game so far. So maybe that's why? But I come in with this check, which was the only move, so I could pick up his queen. I guess he didn't see this check. But the second I saw him take my bishop, I'm like, oh my god, thank god. And that's it, the game's kind of over, right? All I have to do is get my king to safety, make sure that his rooks aren't very annoying. So that's what I do. I just move my king slowly, I check to get my queen out of the way, and I just bring my rooks so they're more active, and I get rid of this pawn because it could be very annoying later on if he protects it. You know, like, just kind of normal stuff. I'm not trying to make the best moves, I'm just trying to take advantage of the fact that I have a queen. So I get my rooks to open lines, and I recognize actually over here, I recognize that the knight can fork my queen and rook, so I just go for the check to get out of that, and everything's fine. I even sack a rook because I'm like, come on, like I'm so close to winning here. Apparently this was my winning move because this is mate. The only way to stop that would be something like this maybe, but I mean, that's mate. So I didn't see that. Whatever, I was also messaging with the guy. I was getting low on time. I was thinking, is he trying to flag me? So I just played kind of simple. I check and I'm like, let's just get rid of the rook. Whatever, let's not complicate things. Even here, this is mate in 2. Right? Even if the king was here, it wouldn't matter. And I get the win. I get the win a few moves later. So, funny game. Okay, then I watched this video on the Albin counter gambit, which you'll see how it goes in a second. And you could see, while I watched the video, I started doing this with YouTube videos. It might help you guys while watching this video. I started analyzing alongside the YouTube video and using the engine alongside the video. I would pause on my phone, because I was watching on my phone, go to the chess app, and like, this was the analysis I went through. So I just wanted to show you, like, because it's actually pretty useful. Like, I kind of understand the Albin counter gambit a little better now without even playing games on it. And then I studied the Falkbeer counter gambit, which we went over a little bit earlier. And for those wondering, the Albin counter gambit is for queen's gambits, which are when white gambits away or gets rid of this pawn for quick development, for control of the center. The bishop's going to get the pawn back probably in a lot of lines. Whereas the king's gambit is like this, right? You're gambiting or getting rid of this pawn, and you're going to develop really quickly and attack the weak king, since you take advantage of the weak f7 square and bring a lot of pieces into the game. You castle quickly, the rook, a lot of pieces start staring in that direction. So the Falkbeer counter gambit, we talked about. And next is what happens in this game, the Albin counter gambit. This is a blitz game, so my blitz rating is much lower because I just play around. I'm a 1370 here. But I get excited. I'm like, yes, I could do it. So I go for it. I go for the Albin counter gambit. And the idea is that if they take, you know, you're countering the gambit with your own type of thing, right? Like, a lot of times, I'm pretty sure you just push the pawn. And the idea behind this is that the knight can't come out, and you're kind of annoying white's attempt at developing, and it's a counter gambit, right? You're down a pawn for now, at least. Anyway, Gotham chess goes over like 6-7 different lines, and I guess after studying chess for a while, and especially doing the strategy I mentioned earlier, I was able to kind of understand, like, I recalled all the moves here. You could do a bunch of different things, but taking here immediately threatens the knight. So, I mean, the queen would just take, right? That's obvious. Now you gain a tempo by attacking the queen, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like you're just, you know, blundering a pawn. The thing is, you did blunder the pawn, but now your bishop comes out and you get very quick development with a kind of weak king, enemy king. And what is white going to do here? He's going to trade, right? You want to get rid of the threat right away. I mean, it makes sense, right? You take back and all of a sudden, white's king is super weak. You have more pieces that could come in. This knight can go around and fork the rook and king. And it's just, white has to be very careful. So here white, you know, just start developing normally. I move my knight to go for this fork, and he can't block it because the rook is here, right? He can move the rook here. That's, you know, something to do. But there's, it's just, this is a very, very cool opening where a lot of times you could even get a checkmate very quickly with the bishop on g4, I think, and the rook coming in. This wouldn't necessarily be that. But so, like, it would be something like this, right? But it would still be very interesting. Like, already on move, what is this, 7, 8, 10? You could already just be up a bishop. And the king's out in the open, obviously, and you know, so on. He moves the pawn, I move my knight, and then he just completely messes up with this fork and resigns. And I played with 100% accuracy in that game, like a 2150. So that was cool. That was the 100% accuracy game. The next game, I played pretty well too. This is a rapid game, so going back to the rating climb to try to get to 2000. And I play the Vienna, and he plays this pawn move, which I'm not used to seeing really in the Vienna. But I know that when the knight comes out, when I play as black, I bring out the knight, and they bring out the bishop, and then I bring out the bishop, and that's kind of the thing, so I just bring out the bishop. I'm like, that looks like a sensible move. Okay, then he goes for this pawn attack, and I'm like, that's weird. That's very weird. And right away, I'm looking at his weak f7 square. How can I take advantage of that? The entire game, I start thinking of that, but I don't really see a way to take advantage of it. Instead of developing another piece, I push my pawn forward, which generally is not even what you do early on in the Vienna. It's very interesting. He pushes the pawn again, closing the position, and I'm like, yeah, he's gaining a lot of space, but look how weak his king side is. Like, I remember watching a Danya video. He's one of the strongest players in the world. And he mentioned how weakening the king side is much worse than weakening the queen side, because if you go for a queen side attack, your king is still safe. And here, your king, you know, is not as safe, so you have to be careful with that type of thing. I develop the knight here, and I push the center to break his pawn chain. And he just keeps doing moves that just look really nice to me. And the idea here is simple. I'm just pushing my knight further, attacking his queen. And then I could take this pawn, because he had to move his queen. Now, after he attacks my pawn, I just attack his queen. And the idea is if he takes, I have this fork. So a lot of these tactical ideas are coming because of the position that we're in. Very interesting, and I'm able to see a lot of it. So he brings the queen back, or she. And I just take the free pawn because I don't really see the best moves. I saw this move. I was like, could I sack the knight for something? But I'm like, why play around when you could just play solid? Apparently, this is made in two because now you take advantage of this diagonal, which is crazy. I wouldn't have seen it. And the pawn blocks any escape scores. The knight blocks the last one. This is the only move. The black is forced to do that move, and this is mate. That's like a 12-move mate. Crazy stuff that even at this level, but like we both don't see that. Anyway, maybe I should have spent more time thinking. We both had 9 minutes. But I take the free pawn, I attack his knight, and here I take the risk of gambiting a pawn because I'm up 2 pawns. I want to open the lines, I want to do some crazy stuff, I want to bring my rooks to the center. So I push the pawn. Apparently I could have just castled and taken my time here. But I push the pawn, he takes, I take, and he resigns. I'm not. He actually abandoned this game. I had to wait a little bit. Like 2 minutes. And then he abandoned the game. So I thought he could just take here. I didn't see obviously I would have taken back, but I didn't see how. I knew I was winning, but I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, why surrender? It's still a little bit complicated. I guess most of your pieces aren't developed. Your king is in the center. Okay, like I kind of understand, I guess. Anyway, the last 2 games I played terribly, and then I stopped after the second one because I have to take a break after 2 losses. That's my rule. for those that don't know. My opponent played super fast all these moves in 2 seconds because they know the modern defense. And I don't play the best. I actually play the best moves for now, but I don't play it even on move 5 because I don't really know the modern defense that well. I just know that I like to trade off this bishop and try to do a quick king side attack. Instead of that, instead of going for a check, I saw this. I was like, what's the point? What's the point of this check? Like if he blocks, now what do? You know, if I take, I'm helping him develop. I didn't really understand the idea. Apparently, you go for a queenside attack here. That's the idea. And if the rook comes here to defend, then you have this taking the center pawn. You're still looking here. Your queen's very developed, very into the game. He has all this stuff, and this bishop can't really do anything. And if he takes, you probably just take, and it's fine, right? I didn't see that. I just thought it would be bad to help him develop. I didn't see the importance of my queen coming to b3, which I should have looked out for. That's something I'm starting to notice more of. So I just take back, and I'm playing more passive. And I go for my idea here, which is to trade off the bishops. The problem is, I can't do it now. And I kind of understood this. I understood he could just take this pawn for free now, but for some reason I still went for it. I got annoyed. I'm not perfect. Like, when people play super fast, it still gets to me. Like, it annoys me. It pisses me off. So I moved this bishop because I'm like, I'm so tired of this. He takes. I take it back, and here he doesn't take this pawn, and I was like, wow, okay, he's putting more pressure. At this point, I think I checked to see what rating he was, and I was like, damn, I thought it was like 1700 to be playing this good. But it's just I'm making a lot of dumb mistakes. So I bring the queen back, which I saw was the only move. I take, he takes, and I take. This is the only way to protect the pawn. Now, if he took like this, apparently his best move was b5 to just have it so I can't target this knight, I guess. And he's pushing. Like, what if he came here? I don't know. Actually, no. Then I would have another protector of the pawn, so that wouldn't work. And then takes, and I can't take back. My bishop's under attack. Like, would have been very annoying. I mean, this is still very annoying. And this is what happens. I develop my knight, and I just... The game is even. After this pawn move, I'm like, that looks terrible. Right? You're gaining a lot of space, but look at all this boom, boom, boom. First of all, if I had a light-squared bishop, oh my god. But his light-squared bishop is stuck. It can't do anything. But I'm playing on tilt at this point, right? I should have castled. I was scared that he's pushing too fast. I did castle. I thought I didn't. And he brings a knight here, and I'm like, what does that knight do? It literally does nothing. It does nothing. But I start thinking of this idea to reroute my knight over here, potentially try to go for some fork attack here, bring the knight here, threaten mate. These are the ideas I have while ignoring what he's doing. Again, even game. And now I'm playing faster than my opponent, but I'm tilted. And so I move the knight, which is the best move. Everything's working out. I take forking the queen and rook. And here I should have noticed that no, my plan is not working. I think, oh, I can bring the knight here. And now I'm still threatening mate because he can't take. But his bishop was hanging. Now it could run away. And I recognize this, but I just thought I had a big enough threat. Very dumb by me. Best move, just take. If he takes with the queen, take, and the game continues. I have this passed pawn. It's going to be probably hard to defend. He has a lot of pawns that are very far. Like, going to be an interesting game. No, instead of that, he gets away with the bishop. Then I take. I push the pawn so the knight defends it. And I just play stupidly. I just don't play good moves. And, you know, I went for this idea to try to, like, come through here. Just dumb. My best plan was just to give up everything, I guess. But I wonder if he was one move closer. This was what I was wondering. Like, let's say I do this, and he just gives me another move. Yeah, it doesn't even matter. I thought maybe I could check here and do something. But he just goes to the corner, and everything's fine. So, interesting game. And then the last game... Look at those... Oh, you don't see all the spikes, guys. But what did we play into? Just a regular Rui Lopez. Yeah, I'm just playing solidly because I'm thinking, okay, here this is to protect the knight, the pawn, so the knight doesn't take, and this is the Steinitz defense, I believe. And the idea behind this is that if he takes, you take back, and this is what's... Oh, it's called the Spanish variation? Maybe because there's 4 knights. I thought it was the Steinitz defense. Anyway. Like, how else do you defend that pawn? Like, if you go here, you're blocking in your center pawn. That doesn't really make sense. Apparently, that was a good move. So I don't know. I would have to study this scenario more, especially since it's come up a couple of times, but I don't do that. I bring my bishop to defend, and I try to kick the bishop out. And already he's winning because he can take, and that's it. He's going to win a pawn. Okay, well, he pushes the pawn instead. I bring the bishop back. So, which means, by the way, that back here, instead of attacking, I should have just taken out his pawn. You know, makes sense. Like, if he takes, I take, he takes, I take, he takes. We're just trading a bunch of stuff. You know, and it makes sense. It makes sense. Anyway, this is what happens instead. I get rid of one of the pawns there because it's annoying. And he comes into the position. I don't recognize how annoying it is that he takes out my bishop. I recognize the knight and bishop coming in, but I didn't recognize, you know, I didn't see this stuff. And this entire time I see that he's going to want to sack a piece on the side at one point here, which I'm right about. I also considered this rook move to attack, to come here to attack the pawn, to potentially get closer to the queen. Instead of that, I move the rook at the wrong time, and he sacks the knight. And I do the calculations, and I'm like, doesn't make sense to sack the knight. So I take and I move here because I see this, protecting against any discovered checks. And he can't take because the queen's watching. The problem, I think, is that it's way too passive. He could take this pawn, and now he has this very scary stuff going on, right? So my best move was actually to move the king here, because now when I go g8, if he goes to the side here, I can go g6. And if he has a discovered check, I shouldn't be scared of a discovered check just because it's a discovered check. I look at what it does. I can just move the king to the side and everything's fine. Maybe this rook comes in later, and also everything's protected, right? Well, except this pawn. But, you know, he gave up a knight. So I didn't see that. I moved the king to the other place, but now it doesn't defend against the queen coming in. I play these moves fast because I'm running low on time, and this is a nice move that kind of defends and stops some annoying stuff. I consider going for this free pawn, but I'm like, that looks risky. It just looks risky. And I'm just playing on time trouble here. I play on time trouble. I'm winning because I'm still up a piece, basically. And again, I don't take this pawn. I don't take this pawn because I'm scared of losing my bishop. Apparently here, there's a crazy, crazy set of moves. If I let my bishop die, I guess it's not that crazy. Maybe if I had more time, I would see it. I can fork the queen and the rook. And apparently his best move here is to check. I move to the side. And then, like, yeah, he doesn't really... he has this attacking the rook. And I could even take here. He could take here because I have the rook being under attack at the end of the day. Even more than that, I have a threat sacking my knight, my rook. So some crazy, crazy stuff, right? The pawn stops him from going there. This gives check. The knight stops here, and this is mate. I did not see that, okay? So when the rook comes in, I just go to defend my bishop. And, you know, he has the brilliant move, attacking both rooks, which I saw. I just didn't see a way to deal with it. And here I mess up, not recognizing that the queen still looks at the rook, which is another reason why taking that pawn would have been better. The queen wouldn't have been looking at it. I didn't consider all of these things, and then I just play terribly, you know, and I lose the game. So, with 1 second left, I'm moving around. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a little bit of a longer one, but a lot of cool stuff happened. And see you guys in the next one. If you watched this far, say Defy in the description. Defy the Night is a book I'm reading now. Fantasy book. It's a good book. All right. Bye-bye.